What's happening, everybody? We're here with another episode of Curiosity FM, and today I'm with none other than Adam Ringshall of AirRopes.com. He's the founder, he's the CEO, he's the creator, he's the inventor, he's the lead implementator of everything else, and he's doing absolutely everything to grow this brand new brand. So excited to talk to you, Adam. So excited to talk about all things fitness, all things nutrition, all things AirRopes, of course. Brand new fitness invention. Really excited to dive in, but also want to, talk a lot about your background and everything else in between. So thanks so much for coming on.
Oh, thank you, John. Appreciate the invite, mate, and I'm super excited to be here.
Yeah, so I guess we'll start with the beginning. So obviously we have a lot to talk about with AirRopes and like this crazy new invention that's going to take the fitness world by storm. But before we get into all of that stuff, I mean, you've obviously been in fitness, in personal training and fitness and nutrition for a long time. So where did this all begin for you? Like what gravitated, why did fitness gravitate towards you, or why did you gravitate towards fitness? How did it all
Okay,
start?
yeah, well, to give you the background, I mean, the short version of the story was I grew up in like the 80s and 90s, and both my parents actually were into bodybuilding a lot. And they used to take me to a bodybuilding gym, a real spit and sawdust one in the 80s when I was just a kid. I used to sit and watch, and I was in awe of these guys. And then into the 90s, my parents were friends with a lot of the old school gladiators,
Wow.
the original series. And they'd come around our house and everything. And all my dad's friends were Big Dave and Big Steve and
Like
everyone's
Shadow and all those guys?
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So everyone in my kind of circle of influence growing up worked out. And then my mum and dad also ran marathons and things like that. So I was already always around gyms and fitness. And growing up in the 80s, obviously, I loved all the action heroes, Arnie, Sly Stallone, all that stuff. I was obsessed with kind of muscle and training and fitness. And then that never kind of went away. And I always thought, right, that's going to be a big part of my life. And I also always knew that I was going to be in shape as an adult, even from a young child. And then I realized that that doesn't happen by chance. You have to start working out. So I got my first set of weights at 13 years old, started training my bedroom like a lot of people and just fell in love with it. I used to read the old muscle and fitness magazines, stay up late, reading anything I could get my hands on. And I was just got obsessed with it. And then around the age of 18, I'd left school, was kind of jumping from job to job, and I didn't know what I was going to do. And I found out that you could actually do personal training as a career. And back then, no one was a personal trainer. It was a totally new concept. No one talked about that as a career choice at school when I was at school. I left school in 2000. And then in 2003, I qualified as a personal trainer. And I just knew this was what I was made to do. This is what I'd be doing for the next 10 plus years. And that's all I've done ever since. And that's how I got started. And then it's just gone from strength to strength since then, really.
So 2003 is when you were first into personal training, so 21
Right.
years this year. That's crazy. So
Yeah, exactly.
obviously,
This will be my 21st year doing it full time. Since then, I've owned personal training studios, owned my own gyms, had personal trainers working for me, as well as working privately for myself, obviously. So you name it, I've kind of been there and done it in the industry and throughout my career. But yeah, 20 years it's been going now. So
obviously in 2021 years, a lots have changed from a fitness point of view. My own background is from fitness as well originally.
yeah,
So I'm intimately familiar with the industry and the space, and I absolutely love it from a business point of view, from a marketing point of view, but also I love it from a personal transformation point of view. I mean, I think fitness should be such a pillar in everyone's lives, and it's unfortunate that so many leave it too late to get into fitness. So it's fantastic that you had that from such an early age. But in 21 years, I mean, you must have seen it all, done it all, tried it all, and everything else in between. And obviously, a lot of things have become more and more popular in the last few years in terms of dieting, in terms of things like keto, things like fasting, things
yes.
like carnivore diets, and everything else. But also from a fitness point of view, a lot of protocols have become more popular, less popular, and everything else in between. What are some of the things that really stand out for you in the last 20, 21 years of being in the space, that you're yeah, these are things that have have made a mark and in your
Yeah.
own journey, but the things that have been pillars for you?
Yeah, okay. Well, in terms of the actual training side of things and fitness, I've kind of always focused on and practiced the fundamentals from a young age. when I first got in the industry, I was one of the kind of only people that really focused on using free weights with clients. Everyone else was kind of still using machines and things like that, and focused on the big compound lifts, for example, the deadlifts, the squats, clean and presses, and getting clients to move more naturally, more functionally. And then that's obviously grown in popularity as science and education has become more widespread. One of the biggest changes I've seen over that 20 years is, without a doubt, of course, like any industry, is social media. And there's both positive and negative to that, good and bad. It's educated a lot of people. It's increased awareness. It's got a lot of people into fitness, more into health. But just alongside that, the business and marketing, as you mentioned, I went out on my own as a personal trainer when I was just 20. So I only worked for someone else for about 2 years. And then between 20 and 21, I think it was 21, I went full time on my own because I always knew I was going to work for myself. That's something I've known again from a young age. I always wanted to own my own business. I was always quite entrepreneurial, very ambitious. I always had big dreams. So although I worked for a health club in my early years, I went out on my own at 21. Now, The good thing about that is I had to learn quickly. The challenging thing about that, I made every mistake there was to make as a young entrepreneur, business owner, someone working for himself. And as you say, I've done it all. Boot camps in the park, training clients at home, renting space in other people's studios, open up my own studios, having trainers rent space off me, open up a public gym and having trainers work for me. So I've definitely seen it all, both in terms of the fitness and the health and the training and nutrition, but also through the business and the marketing and the highs and lows of that. So it's been a really interesting journey. In terms of training, just to answer your question more directly, the things I've seen evolve probably in popularity the most in the last 10 years is things like, they sound commonplace now, but like battle ropes, sleds and sled pushing and things like that. My gym that we opened up in 2012, over 10 years ago now, was one of the first public gyms in London to have this stuff and make it accessible to the general public. So, but that stuff's all commonplace now. You see it everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's great because I think with the big box gyms, like they're all just full of machines now. It's not maybe not so much these days. Like, to be honest, I haven't been in a big box gym in so long. I have my own home gym here, and before that, I was in a rough and ready gym nearby my house. But like the big box gyms, more often than not, purely from a speed and an efficiency point of view, they're just full of machines. So you don't get the as functional movements, and you don't get to really use your body parts in the best way possible. The way the big lifts do, the way like functional movements like sleds and like battle ropes and everything else can bring into play. So I'm sure you've seen it all, and it's fantastic that you brought that stuff to London. But like to really take a step back, do you? And maybe you don't. Hopefully you do. But do you remember your first client that you ever got?
Oh, absolutely, I do.
First paying client, not client, not paying, but first paying client.
Yeah, first paying client. It was my, I remember it because it was my 19th birthday that we had our first session booked in. And he didn't know that. And he didn't know it was my birthday. He didn't know he was my first client either. There's a little tip for anyone starting their career. Don't tell your first paying client they're your first paying client.
It's like a surgeon. Oh, it's my first time doing this surgery.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, brain surgery, exactly. So yeah, I do remember. And his name was Daniel, I want to say, his surname escapes me. It may have been.
Well, we'll let you off. I mean, it's 20 something years ago. You have his first name, so that's good enough.
Exactly. And just on a note there, the other thing you just reminded me from what you said, John, there about your home gym. That's the other thing I've seen explode in the last kind of 5 to 10 years is home gyms. Whether someone's got a big space at home to utilise, or a small spare bedroom, or a garage gym, home gyms have really exploded as well. That's something that's increased in popularity.
If you're watching this show and you're an online business owner, one of the best things you can do is leverage evergreen scaling to finally make paid advertising profitable for you. It allows you to consistently scale your products, services, or offers in a way that other methods simply don't. If you're not currently turning paid advertising into new leads and sales every single day, you're likely missing out on untapped revenue and profits in your business. So if you want to get more leads and get more sales consistently and predictably, my advice is to start leveraging evergreen scaling in your paid ads ASAP. Now, obviously, you don't need to be doing everything yourself. We can absolutely do it all for you. And if that's something that you'd like to find out more about, you can go to e5agency.com/CFM. You'll see exactly how we're helping multi-six-figure and seven-figure businesses acquire new leads and sales daily using our evergreen scaling system. You can visit e5agency.com/CFM for full details.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing you said about, just to jump back, is on like the explosion of social media has certainly helped fitness, but there's also the negative side of it as well. I think it's certainly led to a lot of fakeness in terms of fitness, and I know we could go down a complete rabbit hole there, but one of the things that certainly led to as well is a lot of, unfortunately, like a lot of body dysmorphia with people because they see things on social media, whether whether it's real or not, whether that person is natural or not, whether that person is photoshopped or not. It can be, very, very difficult to decipher. And someone who's looking to get started in their fitness journey saying, well, I'll never look like that. Like, that's crazy. So I think it has been fantastic in terms of opening up more people to fitness and to health and to everything else in between. But also, obviously, there's been some negatives as well.
Without a doubt. I couldn't agree more. You've hit the nail on the head. It's like anything. There's positive and there's negatives, without a doubt.
Absolutely. So then, obviously, in the 21 years in fitness, like, had you always in mind to be more than just be more than a trainer, more than a gym owner, more than like a fitness professional and everything else, and actually like be leaning more into the entrepreneurial side of fitness in terms of whether that is just purely gym route or the route that you've actually gone down in terms of like invention? So like, was that always on the cards, or how did that come about?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm glad you asked it, actually, because from the youngest age, I could tell you, from 4 years old, I used to tell everyone, I'm going to be a millionaire. I'm going to be super successful. I used to say things like, I'm going to drive a Ferrari. And I had this, for lack of a better word, this burning desire, this hunger deep in my stomach for ambition, for swinging for the fences. I don't know where that came from. It was just something I was born with, or what I was exposed to. No one in my family was ambitious, entrepreneurial, worked for themselves. They all had kind of middle class, working class jobs. Both my parents were police growing up, Metropolitan Police. So I wasn't exposed to any of that. I don't know where it came from, but I always knew I was going to do something unique, different, and quote unquote, I'd be successful. And that's why I went to work for myself from an early age. I fell in love with fitness, and I knew I was going to own a gym of my own. That was a dream. That when I first achieved it, it was a dream come true. It was always something I aspired to. So I always had a vision of doing something significant, but I didn't always know what that was. But I always had that entrepreneurial spark in me. That was always there. And then when I went out on my own, I realized, shit, I've actually got to get clients and pay the bills and bring in money and learn to sell. That was a new concept to me. But once I started digging into sales and marketing and learning that stuff, I fell in love with that and business the way I fell in love with fitness when I was younger. So in my kind of mid-20s, I started to study marketing, sales, business, reading hundreds of books on it, anything I could get my hands on, the same way I did with fitness in my teenage years. So those are two passions and two loves that go hand in hand. I didn't know where that journey would take me. When I owned my gym, it was extremely difficult, extremely hard work, extremely stressful. I had a lot of overhead. I had expenses. I had a team to run and manage, which I didn't like or love, but I didn't necessarily hire the right people, the good fit, and I had to learn the hard way. And then what happened, the way I evolved into this, if you want me to bring it kind of full circle to inventing something, when I had my gym, I wasn't afraid to try new things, whether it was try new stuff with clients and working out, try new equipment, hence why we were some of the first people to use battle ropes and sleds and TRXs. We were a unique gym. We wasn't a conventional gym at the time. The facilities we had were much more common now because they work. But I was also very open-minded to testing and trying new things in terms of sales and marketing. We would offer something different to the rest of the marketplace in the local area in terms of personal training, Our gym memberships were different. We were always premium prices, higher price points. We would package things differently. So I wasn't afraid to try new things. That's always been a part of my kind of creativity and my nature to try new things. I've never been afraid to fail. I was always willing to take a risk. Risk didn't scare me. It's like, what's the worst going to happen? And then in 2018, just to bring it full circle, I closed my gym, and that was a tough decision, and it was really hard to do. I had to say goodbye to my team, my trainers that will work for me, let a lot of clients go, close a big business. That wasn't easy, to wrap up a big business, etc., and all the implications that come with that, and winding it up. Sell equipment, get out of leases on the building, etc., etc. But I knew it was the right thing to do. Because, just to answer your question in a long-winded way, I knew there was something bigger for me that the gym wasn't going to let me achieve. Right, I knew the best I was ever going to do with that gym, I wasn't going to scale it to a franchise. It wasn't the right kind of model. I knew that gym was only going to cause me a lot of headache and stress, with a kind of ceiling on the income that I was only ever going to be able to take from that. So I made a very tough decision. Remember, owning my own gym was a dream come true. So to close it was really like ending a marriage or relationship. It was really tough. And the emotional roller coaster that come with that. But here's something that I wanted to share that I think is worth saying. I closed my gym and I decided to take 3 months off work to kind of reflect and reevaluate and spend time with my girlfriend at the time, who's now my fiance and the mother of my children. But at the time, it was just us. And I'd worked, so what's that? That's 5 years ago now. So I'd worked exclusively full-time without a break for 15 years straight. And I'm talking about some crazy hours running your own gym and your own business.
I can imagine, yeah.
80 to 100 hours a week, easy peasy. So I decided to take that time off. And the very next year, we decided to try for a baby. And that was when I first had the idea for AirRopes. Now, my own belief, I don't know what your belief is or the belief of your listeners, my own belief is, reflecting back, if I didn't take that time off, if I didn't close my gym and make that space in my own mind, I would never have had the idea. I would have been too stressed, too busy, working too hard to even let that idea come into my mind. And even if it had,
you probably would have dismissed it if it came, because you were just, I don't have time for that. And
certainly not acted on it and followed through with it. So that's a distinction I think is worth highlighting. But yeah, that's a long-winded answer to your question.
That's fantastic. And so AirRopes, I mean, like, where you had the idea for AirRopes, it came from when you had 3 months off, and there's a lot of other stuff that you'd mentioned that I am going to circle back to, hopefully, if we've time.
Yeah.
But like, in terms of AirRopes, you said that you took 3 months off once you sold your gym and once you closed it all up, and you had time to reflect, time to think about the next steps. And like, how did the idea for AirRopes come about? And actually, before you answer that, just do a quick showcase of what the AirRopes are, and do a quick like elevator pitch for what AirRopes are as well before you get into the answer. So if you have a pair handy, just pull them up, show them on the camera, and then just like give us a 30-second spiel of what AirRopes are.
And then I'll answer your question. Cool. So for those of you that don't know what AirRopes are, I'll grab a set here. You can see. AirRopes, these are them. They're a handheld fitness device that replicate and replace the movements and benefits of traditional battle ropes without the ropes themselves, or the large amount of space they require. So anything you can do with traditional battle ropes, you can do with AirRopes, plus much, much more.
And you don't have to lug around like 20 feet of battle ropes to get the benefits of battle ropes with AirRopes.
Yeah.
So they're essentially ropeless battle ropes.
Exactly. That's the simplest. They're ropeless battle ropes. And I'm sure John will send a link into the notes of this interview and podcast to show you a video if you've not already seen them.
Yep, sure. So like, fantastic. And you've said, obviously, I have a pair myself. I've been using it as part of my HIIT workout. So basically, my workout schedule is fairly straightforward. I do 3 to 4 resistance training sessions a week, and I would do 1 to 2 heavy, high intensity interval training / cardio sessions a week as well. And like, since I've got my AirRopes, they've been integrated into my HIIT sessions, and even at the end of my resistance training sessions as workout finishers as well. I absolutely love them, but we'll talk more about that a little bit later on. So again, back to the question, where did the idea come from?
Yeah, so basically, after closing my gym, I knew I was going to do something else. It's just in me. Like I said, from the youngest age, I had this burning desire, this hunger within me to do something big, something significant, whatever that means. And I knew my gym wasn't going to get me there. So that's why I closed it. And I knew there was something else I was going to do. I just didn't know what. I started to see my personal training clients again privately. I downsized into a private studio just to see my one-to-one clients and see some clients that had home gyms, etc. My long-term loyal clients. And then I just knew something. I was going to do something. I just didn't know what it was. So I was just like feeding my mind, reading a lot of books, as I've always done, listening to podcasts, meditating, and just being open, really, to whatever that could be. And then I don't know if it's serendipity, coincidence, or just the way the universe works, but when my girlfriend at the time, my now fiance, fell pregnant with our little girl, I believe that probably had something to do with it. I don't know if it shifted something in me, but I knew whatever I did next, it was going to be big. And before I had the idea for AirRopes, this is probably worth mentioning. We actually went on holiday to Vegas, and I came back.
I'm just back from Vegas, actually. So
oh, really? Oh, cool.
It's front and center.
Love Vegas. So we had a kind of couples holiday there, just her and I, before we had children. And I always just come back, and I thought, I was just so in awe of the scale and size of it. And I've been there before, but just the audacity of someone to build a hotel in the middle of the desert, right? Now, I know that didn't happen overnight. It evolved from something small, etc., etc. But here you are. I've got some of the biggest, most grandest, busiest hotels in the world on a strip in the middle of nowhere, okay, in the middle of the desert. And the scale of it, I just thought to myself, I was looking at the Wynn, for example, and Caesar's Palace and Bellagio. I was thinking, if they can do that, what can I do? Surely, if I can do something even remotely as audacious, as brazen, as ballsy. So I came back and I was like, listen, like, life's too short. I'm doing something. I don't know what it is, but I'm doing something big. And I had the idea for this is crazy, but I just wanted something I could scale. And it was actually going to be something that we put into malls, which we call like just shopping centres over here. And it was going to be like health related. There was going to be some massage. I wasn't exactly sure what it was. We was going to sell the massage guns. They just hit the market. We was going to sell complimentary products like that. And it was going to be like a little store where you could use this stuff, come and use it, plus buy the products and this whole thing. And I had this whole business plan set out, and I was going to literally throw everything I had at it, invest life savings, borrow money. And then fortunately, 2020 hit and everything shut down. And it was like I was saved by grace.
It was good for something, right?
That would have wiped me out. And fortunately, I didn't even have my gym, because that would have been hard enough to kind of keep afloat if I had my gym still, because we was a public gym. So that probably would have wiped me out as well. So
I think a lot of things, before you continue, sorry to jump in, but I think there's been a lot of negative around what's happened with COVID and everything else in terms of the timeline. It's like people lost 2 years of their lives. When you look back, it's like, what happened anyway? But there's also been a lot of positive. A lot of people got into, when lockdowns were happening, they were writing books, they were writing memoirs, they were coming up with ideas, they were coming up with inventions, podcasts, everything else. I mean, so like it nearly gave people the chance to have a rebirth in what they were doing as well. And a lot of people have changed positively because of it. I know there's been tons of negatives, and I don't want to go down the negative path of things, but yeah, I'm not surprised that something bigger and better came from the lockdown for you, because of the type of person you are. Like you said, You've always said from the get-go, there's been always something inside of you that make you wanted to strive for more and do more and everything else. And my whole reasoning for starting this podcast is because I firmly have the belief that there's really two types of people in the world. There's people that are curious, and there's people that are not curious. There's people that strive for growth, strive to be better, strive to improve, will always reach for capacity in everything that they do. And there's people that just coast through life and never want to improve. They're happy with what they're happy, the same old status quo, blah, 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 blah. And like this podcast is built, and it's going to be built for the curious people like you who are out there pushing the envelope, out there striving to succeed, out there taking risks, out there taking challenges and doing things that other people won't do. And it's no wonder something like AirRopes has come from a lockdown from you, whereas other people, the only thing that's come from it is maybe downsizing in their job and now they're working from home.
Yeah.
So like it's fantastic that you've done it. So to jump back in,
Yeah.
so it's a lockdown. You're like you were going to go with this other idea. Thankfully you didn't.
Yeah.
And then like, okay, so you started thinking about something else, and
before,
what happened?
Just before I share exactly the moment I had the idea for AirRopes and what happened after that, I just want to second what you just said there. I couldn't agree more with just what you just said. And I always knew I was never going to give up. That's an important distinction. I was never going to give up no matter what. And I'm a passionate advocate and student of personal development. Like, I read books on mindset, personal development. I've done a lot of Tony Robbins seminars and things like that. And I wouldn't be the person I am today or have the mental, emotional fortitude that I have today if it wasn't for that stuff. And as you've just said, there's two types of people, and I could not agree more. It's that constant growth, that willingness to do what's necessary, to get out of your comfort zone, strive for more. Exactly. So I've invested in myself a lot over the years, whether it's books, seminars, workshops, coaching, mentorships, you name it. And I wouldn't be where I am today or achieved half of what I've achieved if it wasn't for that stuff. And I'm reminded when lockdown hit and all that, there was a lot of obviously challenges, a lot of problems, but also a lot of negativity around it that probably wasn't necessary. And I'm a big believer in tough times don't last, tough people do, and turning pain into power. And I can tell you right now, John, I have made every mistake there is to make in terms of business and finances. Everything. I've made some money. I've lost it all. I've done it again. I've gone again. You name it. I've made every mistake there is to make, but I've learned in the process and kept going and going and going. And final point before I share the actual AirRopes moment, I remember being 20 years old, 19, 20, and we was in the car, and my friend's girlfriend at the time said to me, because I obviously had said it at some point, she said, "Adam, still think you're going to be a millionaire one day?" And she laughed because she was obviously teasing, taking a mick. And I said, "Absolutely, 100%. I said, "You know why?" She said, "Why?" "Because I will never, ever give up until I am." And it was simple as that. To me, it was literally as simple as that. I don't care if it takes a year, 10 years, 50 years. I won't stop until I'm where I want to be. And I think it's that mindset anyway that allowed me to A, have the idea, but then B, follow through with it. So that business idea, thank God, didn't work out, and divine intervention. And then I was in the gym one day, and my missus is pregnant. My little girl's on the way, which we're over the moon about. I'm ticking over with my personal training clients, but I know I want to do something more, something bigger. And I was in the gym working out, and I just thought, what if there was something I could give people that they could use that was scalable, that could be literally sold? A gym can only help so many people locally. So rather than a local business, not just a national business, but a potentially global business, something I can help people with. And I just remember I was using battle ropes at the end of my workout, doing my HIIT, doing my high intensity intervals, and I've used battle ropes for sort of 10, 15 years for myself and clients, loved them, always thought they're really, really useful tool. I just thought, what if you could do these at home without the ropes? And it just hit me then. And I just thought, ropeless battle ropes. Now, you have to understand, I had the idea. I had no idea what that would look like, how it would work, the mechanics or the physics of it, none of it. I just had the concept, the idea come to me. And in that moment, John, and this is, I'll never forget this moment. In this that moment, in a second, in a heartbeat, I knew this was it. I knew that everything I'd done leading to that point, starting my personal training career, getting into fitness, studying business and marketing, sales, being entrepreneurial, I knew all of it had led to this point. I knew this was the thing I was made to do. And that moment I had the idea, I knew, again, I wasn't going to give up until I did it. I didn't know how I was going to do it. I didn't know what it would look like. I didn't know what the process was going to be like. I didn't have a plan. I didn't know how long it would take, but I knew I wasn't going to stop until I had a finished product in my hand that was freaking awesome, that worked, and that people could use, and that I could help a lot of people with.
That's incredible. And like, once again, pull up the finished product again so people can see it. Just
I'll show the blue ones this time. So they come in blue or red.
it's fantastic, and like, it's such an achievement. Now, I know, obviously, I'm intimately familiar with how you've been going. Well, at least the last few months of the process of getting AirRopes ready for launch and everything else. And there's been a lot of problems that have come with that, a lot of setbacks, a lot of challenges, a lot of kicks in the teeth with shipping and all design and invention and everything else. But like, what are some of the, even before of what I'm aware of, like, what are some of the teething problems that happened? What are some of the challenges that you'd gone through to bring these to market? Because like, they're a brand new invention, I'm sure there's been some issues and stuff that's happened, but like, what are some of the things that you ran into? What were some of the roadblocks?
Oh, without a doubt. There's so many setbacks along the way. I couldn't even count them, and I guarantee I've probably forgotten half of them. But that's probably one of the things you need.
That's a skill, right?
Sorry?
That's a good skill to have.
Yeah, I think it's a skill to have, to persevere, is to almost be a little bit naive and forgetful about the negatives. And I'm an optimist, not by nature, but by choice. I've chosen to be optimistic and look for the opportunities and the benefits. But there's been so many things that kind of went wrong. What's the saying? If you want to make God laugh, tell him your plan.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. I put my original vision, I thought a year. Give me a year, maybe 18 months, I'll have these things on the market. 4.5 years to get to this point, right? So, well, yeah, it'll be 4 years. Yeah, 4 years since I had the idea, because it was like literally end of 2020. I can't remember the exact date. So I had an idea that I thought would take X amount of time, and it took 3 or 4 times long. And along that time, there was failures, setbacks, roadblocks. I've bootstrapped this thing, funding it stage by stage. We haven't had outside investors. This has been literally life savings put into it, families' money put into it, prototype after prototype, things not working. I'd say 90% of the things we tried didn't work, but that's the process you have to go through to find the one that does, especially when you're inventing something brand new. So obviously I had to employ a team of, which may not be obvious, a team of engineers to help me work out the physics of the product, because I had the idea and I had the sketches and I could see it, but I didn't know what would actually work in the real world.
So tell us let's talk a little bit about that, because obviously there is, it's not just a device that you just have in your hands. There is mechanics to it. There is science to it, and they are engineered. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about like the ins and outs of the like why they work the way they work, and how they're able to simulate battle ropes and everything else, and then we can talk about benefits and everything else after that. Yes. But like let's talk about the mechanics of AirRopes. And I know, like, in marketing with our clients, we always love to work with clients who have what we call a unique mechanism. Like, they have something that's unique to them. They have a unique way of getting the result that the market wants with their product or service. And like, oftentimes it can be really difficult to sometimes we need to pull the unique mechanism out of the client because they have it, but they just don't know how to illustrate it. They don't know how to define it. Or oftentimes we get people coming to our agency and say, oh, will you help us with our ads? We're doing X, Y, and Z. And they're basically just a commodity. They're doing something that everybody else is doing. There's nothing unique about what they're doing. And it's very, very difficult to help a client like that, because like, they're just screaming the same scream as everybody else. But when you first came to me and you were like, John, I've got something cool I want to share with you, and you were like, and I want you to sign an NDA before I actually showed them to you. I was like, okay, this is exciting. Hopefully it's not like, oh, I've invented this new thing that's not actually a new thing at all. But when I first heard about them, immediately I was like, yeah, I get it. But then secondly, when you shared with me the actual unique mechanism, I was blown away, because you have a legit unique mechanism, what makes our job so much easier from a marketing and advertising point of view, because it's basically saying we have a new and different way for you to get the result.
Yeah.
So like, tell us, let's talk about the engineering side of things, and let's talk about how and why AirRopes work as well as they do.
Yep, sure, absolutely. So, first of all, I wanted to make sure that it was a product that actually worked. It had to do what it said it does. And as someone that actually used battle ropes myself and with clients for years, I knew exactly what that had to be. So, what I was passionately against, and what I always have been, is gizmos and gadgets that just don't work. The stuff that you see on the late night infomercials that promise the world, that overpromise, underdeliver, right? This was never going to be that. Okay, this wasn't a gimmick. Okay, that's first and foremost. So I had to make something that did the job. And one of my private clients said to me when I shared the idea with him, he said, one question, would you use it? And I said, absolutely, I'll be using it, 100%. And he said, that's it, then he's sold. So I had sketches and ideas. The first thing I did when I had the idea is I went straight down to B&Q, which is a big hardware shop here in the UK, and I just bought handles and bars and springs and screws. And I went home and I tinkered. I just played around and I made shit and I drew stuff out and I sketched and I just tied things up and I duct taped it. And I've still got all that stuff in a box now. It's really cool to go back and look at. Hundreds and hundreds of kind of little gadgets and toys. And then I did some research online, obviously, on the way things work, etc. But I knew I had to get help because I wasn't an engineer. I didn't understand the physics of things necessarily. So I partnered with a team of engineers, or I employed a team of engineers to help me work out the physics. And then we just started making prototypes. Now, you have to take consideration, these guys aren't entrepreneurial. They're not business-minded. They're engineers. So they don't have a state of urgency. They're not in any rush. And they don't always get the vision that you're trying to communicate. And they're very much, that won't work. You can't do that. And I'm like, well, watch me.
They're going to do it. Come back to me when it's done.
Yeah. So we went back and forth and I shared my ideas and designs and they gave me their feedback and said, what about this? This won't work. Here's what you could use instead. And they helped me work out the physics. And then we started making prototypes. And each prototype, you're talking, it was anywhere between £5,000 and £7,000 to get them to make me a prototype. And you're talking something really, really fundamental, really, what's the word? Frankenstein. I mean, I'll share with you the image of the first ever prototype. I mean, it's crazy. It's massive, it's big, it's heavy, it's ugly. But it was all about just getting that first mechanism working, which is what you're talking about. The finished product looks great. The first ones, obviously, it's just about getting that mechanism to work. So internally, the mechanism that we've now patented, by the way, is called dynamic weight displacement and spring oscillation. And they're just fancy technical terms. But basically, inside the AirRope, you have a moving displaceable weight, which travels along the main unit. And then it has springs inside, a very specific type of spring, which creates an oscillation effect. So that movement of the mass comes back and forth. And the speed and rate of that movement is dependent on the user, just like battle ropes move depending on the user's movement. So you get out of it what you put into it, of course. But that displaceable weight internally and that spring oscillation is what allows you to replace and replicate and imitate the movements and the benefits of battle ropes.
Fantastic. So let's take a step back and like the type of result that someone gets from battle ropes and now with AirRopes, and the type of exercise that allows someone to do, and the impact that can have on their health, their fitness, their cardiovascular health, and everything else in between, their fat loss, obviously.
Yeah.
Like, why should someone be incorporating battle ropes and now AirRopes into their fitness life?
Okay, so I'll answer that. There's two parts to answer to that question, I would say. The first part is the technical answer, which is for increased health, cardiovascular health. I mean, you don't have to do much research nowadays. Everyone knows it, that obviously increasing longevity potential, quality of life, and decreasing risk of certain diseases, cardiovascular disease, etc., even cancers. If your body fat is too high, if you're overweight, etc., all the kind of mortality rate diseases increase with a reduction in health and fitness and an increase in body weight and mass, and vice versa. They all go down when you lose weight, lose body fat. So the benefits and obvious reasons are that, but specifically for why to use AirRopes and the style of exercises they create is because it's time efficient. Now, I don't know about you, John, but I don't know many people that have an abundance of free time or abundance of spare time, particularly in today's day and age. Everyone's number one thing is they're busy, they haven't got enough time. So time is our most valuable asset, and it's something that we don't get more of. So we have to learn to utilize it and leverage it. And I've always been a massive advocate of return on investment. If I'm going to go in the gym and work out, I want the biggest bang for my buck. I want the biggest return on investment. So I'm a big fan of HIIT for that reason. High intensity intervals means you can basically get more from less. Yeah, less time invested, but the same or more benefit and results. So it's about getting maximum return on investment, higher metabolism raising, more calorie expenditure, more fat loss potentially, obviously greater heart health, lung health, circulatory benefits. So it's time factor. And the reason AirRopes specifically is they are what I call grab and go fitness. There is zero setup time. There's no having to set up certain equipment. It's grab and go. You pick them up, you can start, right? So it's ultra convenient. And one of people's biggest obstacles is something's not convenient and easy to start and do. They're not going to do it. Life's going to get in the way, and obstacles are going to get in the way, and excuses are going to come up, whether it's time or convenience. So AirRopes basically remove all the excuses because they take up hardly any space. You can do them in a bedroom, in a kitchen, in your living room. You can take them with you and use them on the go in a hotel room. I've had a client take them to New York last week with him.
Well, I'm bringing mine. I'm flying to Virginia tomorrow and then to Puerto Rico, and I'm bringing mine, and I'm going to be sharing them with Todd. Sharing them with the other top one members. We're going to get some good photos with them. So it's like, and like I anytime I do go away, I bring like resistance bands, maybe like I have ropeless skipping ropes, and like, but I'm going to be bringing my my AirRopes with me this time with a resistance band and maybe a couple of other things. But like, yeah, I mean, like like you said, grab and go. It's the biggest, like one of the biggest downfalls with having to get up and go to gym and blah 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 for people is they have to get up, get into their car, drive to the gym or whatever the case is. Or for people that are going there, if they're using things like, treadmills, like I have a treadmill here, and like I have to pull the thing down, plug it in, set it up. With AirRopes, it's grab, it's go, let's go. It's like
exactly
literally the minute you pick them up, you're using them. So
yeah, exactly. And it's great you've got a home gym and you can use them as well as that stuff instead of that stuff. But for someone that hasn't got a home gym, they literally can be on the side next to your telly. You grab them, you do a couple of minutes between the adverts as you're watching a program, or every time you get up to use the toilet, make a cup of tea, you grab them, you do a few minutes here, a few minutes there. They're so convenient, it's almost impossible to do it. You've got no excuses anymore. So it's the time efficiency of it. It's the lack of space required, the minimal space required, and it's so convenient. Plus, it's effective. It works.
And it's fun. I mean, like it's a great workout. I mean, so let's talk about that. What kind of exercises can you do with them? What kind of workouts can you do with them? And how can you, for someone, answer that first?
Yeah.
And then afterwards, if you can answer a third question in terms of how can someone who is already following a structured program incorporate AirRopes into an overall regime? So like talk about those three things. So the type of exercises you can do, the type of workouts you can do, and how someone who says, no, I'm a weights guy, but I'm interested in incorporating some HIIT into my, whether it's workout finishers or something else, how they can potentially incorporate AirRopes into their plan as well.
Yeah. Well, the big broad answer, John, is they can be used in unlimited ways. That's the beauty of them. So they kind of are suitable for three main types of people, but they are suitable for anyone. But the three main types of people is your general enthusiasts, fitness enthusiasts, people that already work out regularly, people that already go to the gym, already part of a kind of regimented fitness routine of something, whether it's running or lifting weights. and they want a new challenge. You want to try something new, something different, something fresh, a new challenge, a bit of variety, because we all like variety. If we don't vary what we're doing, A, we get bored, and B, our bodies stop responding anyway. So it's good to try something new. The benefit of AirRopes is because they move in actually any direction. They're so versatile. There's unlimited movement patterns you can do with the body. So they're unilateral, which means each arm works independently. They work in every plane of motion. Okay, so up and down, side to side, diagonally, in rotation. Okay, something I call 5D fitness, forwards and backwards. While you can use them in a confined space, you can also use them outside. So you could potentially use them while you run. Okay, you could use them in the garden. You could there's unlimited use. You could run up and down the stairs using them. There's so much application. It's crazy. So the first type of person is the fitness enthusiast. The second person is the busy professional or busy parent that literally has limited time. So as we've already spoke about, the use of time is so important. So they can grab them first thing in the morning, on their lunch break in the office between meetings, at the end of the day when the kids are in bed, whenever. You can literally use them for a few minutes here and there. Okay, so you can pepper those little things in. And for the third and final person is someone, not final, but the third person is someone that's potentially either injured or a professional athlete, let's say, that's unable to do their normal activity. I had some friends that were professional footballers growing up, and they had a lot of injuries. And when their legs were busted up and they were on crutches, they couldn't work out. They couldn't keep their fitness up. And they've been paid a lot of money by the club to be an athlete. So AirRopes can be used by a professional or semi-professional amateur athlete to use in complementary to their sport activity, or when they pick up an injury or they're unable to do what they normally need to do. And the other thing is, it doesn't matter if you're beginner, intermediate, or advanced. You can do AirRopes sat down. Again, if you've got an injury or disability, or you just are able to get out away from your desk. You can, as a beginner, if you're overweight or have got low fitness levels, you can do it as an intermediate, and you can do it as an advanced. Firstly, because of the intensity you put into it, like anything, any exercise, but also the style of movements. There's literally hundreds and hundreds of things in terms of movement patterns and exercises you can do with them. And I chunk them down into beginner, intermediate, advanced.
So let's talk about that for a sec. So let's say, well, let's talk for a beginner level. Like what are say 5, if you were to put together like a 5 exercise protocol for someone to do, or maybe it's 7, maybe it's 3, but like what would be an introductory beginner workout using AirRopes in terms of the movements, the time, the total time, sets, reps, and everything else in between?
Yep. Well, for a total beginner, by the way, we haven't mentioned it yet. There is also an AirRopes app, which is 100% free and complimentary when you buy them. And on the app, there's a whole library of exercises that are broken down to beginner, intermediate, advanced. You can go through and see all the different exercises you can do with them, as well as free taster workouts, which is updated weekly. So there's always fresh content on there as well. And you can literally go on the app and follow along, right? So if you are a beginner, there's stuff on there for you. If you're intermediate, there's stuff on there for you. If you're advanced, there's stuff on there for you. And to answer your question specifically, we have something on the app called the 6-week challenge. And it's for beginners, newbie people, whether beginners into fitness or just beginners with AirRopes. And it's 6 minutes a day. Okay, 6 minutes a day for 6 days a week for 6 weeks. And it's exactly just said that, John. It's for someone just starting out that needs to learn the movement. Okay, learn the technique, learn the skill. Because like anything, there is a learning curve to this. It's not just getting on a bike and pedaling. Okay,
well, it's a relatively easy learning curve, though.
It is. The good thing is, I always say to people, you cannot do them wrong. So while your skill level will improve and it will feel more natural the more you do it, the first time you grab them, you're doing them right. You can't do them wrong because they move around you rather than the other way around. But that learning curve, it is quick, it is fast. It's just if you've never used anything like that before. Some people use AirRopes, they've never used battle ropes, for example, so it's a total new movement.
And obviously, go back to the battle ropes comparison. I mean, like I've had battle ropes, and like you're lugging them around the place. I used to lug them to the I used to do hill sprints, and I'd have the battle
Yeah.
ropes at the bottom of the hills. But
Right.
like they were taking up all the boot of my car. They're like, I don't know, 20 feet long or 20
Yeah.
meters long or whatever they were. Just like great, but an absolute nuisance. And now it's like grab and go AirRopes. Here we go, baby.
Yeah.
And I love it. So, but like the 6 weeks challenge. So 6 minutes a day, 6 days a week for 6 weeks. And in that 6 minutes, like what is the protocol? Say like a typical 6 minute protocol. Are you doing like Tabata style? Are you doing 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off, or what is it?
So as I said, there's unlimited ways you can structure the workout, just like you do hit anything, whether you do sprints, hill sprints, traditional battle ropes, on a bike, however you structure hit, there's unlimited. So there's tons of ways of doing that on the app. For the beginner, we're starting off, it actually progresses over the 6 weeks, but we're starting off with a nice and basic like 2-to-1 ratio. So for example, you might do 15 to 20 seconds of movement, and then you might actually take 30 to 40 seconds of rest and recovery.
So say, for example, let's say if we wanted to do it in a minute, so like 20 seconds on, 40 seconds off.
Exactly.
Six rounds, and you're done.
So you've got plenty, 6 rounds and you're done. And then as the weeks progress over 6 weeks, those intensity, that structure, that minute might change. You might do 2 movements per minute by the end of it. They might be slightly longer. They might be slightly shorter. So there's lots of variety in that 6 weeks as well. It basically changes every 6 weeks. Every week over the 6 weeks. So it's progressive, which is a very, very important point for anyone listening, John. As you'll know, as a trainer yourself in your past, that one of the biggest mistakes people make with their exercise and their training, no matter what it is a lack of progression.
Yeah.
And because the body is so super adaptive, no matter what you do, whether it's running, swimming, lifting weights, AirRopes, if you just do the same thing after a certain period of time, your body's going to adapt to that and it will no longer respond in the same way it did. So a critical key component to any form of exercise is tracking your progress. Now that's very difficult with traditional battle ropes. You can do it with timers and heart rate monitors and things like that, but it's not that practical. With AirRopes, what's really cool is they've got a Bluetooth component. They've got real-time digital tracking. They're a smart fitness device built in. So you Bluetooth it to your phone, to the app, and the AirRopes will track every movement, every rep, every rotation, every calorie earned and burnt, and every minute of your workout. So you can record it on your app, and then you know next time you do it, you can see there whether you've progressed or not. So
that's a game changer. That's an absolute game changer.
Guesswork.
That's fantastic. I mean, like that is one of the major downsides with things like just normal hit or battle ropes on their own or something like that. It's like the trackable is hit or miss, but like being able to track the movements and knowing the reps from the AirRopes, even if I don't know how scientific the calorie tracking is and how accurate it is. I mean, that might be like, I'm sure it's pretty good, but like even with like my watch, when it tells me I'm burning X amount of calories, like I use it as more of a guide than like an exact science. And that's the thing, but like being able to do that is huge. So
Absolutely.
The fact that you thought about that as well is fantastic.
Yeah, that's a massive, massive thing. From day one, I said this needs an app. One, because the world we live in nowadays, it's everyone wants that, expects that, but the added value that can deliver for the user to just take out the guesswork. Because I'm sure people watching right now, you've done workouts before where you're sweating, your heart rate's up, things are burning, you feel like you're doing the work, but nothing's happening. And chances are you can sweat and get out of breath, but it doesn't mean you're improving. It doesn't mean you're progressing necessarily if you're not doing it consistently. So this just takes out the guesswork, eliminates any of the doubts. You know, each and every time you pick them up, you're making progress.
Cool. Do you want to give us a quick 30-second demonstration?
Yeah, absolutely. Why not? Put me on the spot, eh?
Yeah.
And last thing I'll say, John, in terms of the beginner, intermediate, advanced, you said something, you just sparked something in me earlier when you said about doing hill sprints. And I've got a little saying that I've come up with these. So for the advanced people out there that have done hill sprints, I'll ask you a question. What's the second, I've kind of given the answer away, what's the second world's best ab exercise? Hill sprints.
The second world's best?
The second world's best, hill sprints.
Wow, right? I never knew that.
The best ab exercises. So if that's the second, what's the first? Hill sprints with AirRopes.
Oh, I love it.
So for you advanced people out there, get some air ropes, do hill sprints, and watch what happens.
Cool.
Right.
Give us a quick demonstration, and then we'll talk a little bit more.
So, can you see me all right there?
Maybe step back a little bit.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah.
Yeah. So, as I said, anything you can do with traditional battle ropes, you can do with air ropes, plus much more. Because you're not tethered and tied to a wall or an anchor or a tree, as you said, you're limited with a battle ropes. With these, you can move in any direction, change your direction, etc. So traditional kind of basic movements for like a beginner would be like your basic 2-arm waves. Now, can you hear that, John? That displaceful wave.
Yep.
That's what's creating the kind of motion and resistance of the ropes. So replicating that benefit. So you start with 2-arm waves like this, and then obviously you can increase your pace. Okay, you obviously can increase your speed. And then you've got alternating arms. So what I call crane drums. Okay? And you can change the position you do this in. You can do a wide stance and come narrow. You can do a narrow stance. So it's almost like sprinting or running without having to move the lower body. Yeah? Of course, if you are advanced, you can use your lower body. Okay? But if you're injured or disabled, you can use them in a chair, sat down. Okay? Then you can come across the body. You can do diagonal motions, like a wood chop, which involves a little bit more rotation from the torso and using your core muscles more. Yeah? And then you've got bigger movements where you bring them overhead. Yeah? Whether it's alternating or together, replicating a big waving Mexican wave style with the ropes, or even like a kettlebell swing. Yeah? Another thing you can do is obviously change direction. Again, side to side movements. You've got crossovers. You've got alternating arm marching on the spot. This is just a small taste. You've got doing like a rotation. So much transverse movement coming from the waist. And then this is the kind of like cherry on the cake. The icing on the cake. So, see that switch there, John?
Yep.
You flip that down. You see that rotation. So this is called the ridge, or rotating infinity joint, part of the patented mechanism inside. You said about the unique mechanism. This allows you to do the rotation movements. So you've got experience at another level.
It's brutal. It's absolutely brutal, but I love it.
It's so hard for most people. And that allows you to obviously replicate the movements you would do with a rope as well. There you go. That's a very, very small taste of some of the movements you can do with them. And that is just literally like 1%.
And I love the fact that, you know, for people that are busy, on the go, they maybe have kids and they're like, they want to get back into their fitness, given that it's the new year and everything else. And they really want to make fitness a part of their life going forward. But like to spend an hour in the gym, to spend 45 minutes in the gym is just not an option for them. Maybe they'd love to, but it's just not an option for them. Like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 minutes a day. And with AirRopes, like it's all you need. I mean, I don't think you can do any more. If you're doing 15 minutes of AirRopes, you're a beast. And like that's a fact.
Absolutely.
So I love that the fact that you can get a really, really good, high intensity, high results producing workout in less than 10 minutes a day. And it's like, it's a legit, it's not like the gimmicks of old of, 6 minutes abs and 5 minutes abs and all that kind of nonsense. This is a legit workout you're getting in less than 10 minutes a day. So 100%. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Is there like, so obviously if people want to find out more about AirRopes, there's a website, it's airropes.com. Is there anything else that you want to share about AirRopes? Like anything else you want to share today? I think we've covered quite a lot. I think we've covered everything. Like the minute I heard about this product, I was like, yeah, I'm in. Like I want to work with you. I want to help you get this product out there into the world. And then when I seen the initial prototypes, I was like way beyond what I thought. And then when I held the actual products in my hand, I was like, wow, this is great. And then when I used the actual product in an actual workout and how I felt, how amazing I felt after it, I was like, this is incredible. I mean, anybody who's doing any sort of fitness, any sort of high intensity stuff has a home gym, goes to the gym, travels and brings workout equipment with them, travels and likes to work out in the hotel rooms because hotel gyms are pretty meh usually. Like they need AirRopes, like 100% they need AirRopes. And I'm so excited to be helping you get AirRopes out there to the masses, not only with something like this, but what we're doing from an advertising and marketing point of view, because like we discussed your ad metrics before we hopped on, and like your metrics are crazy. I mean, typically we're looking at click-through rates of 1% and we're happy out. And sometimes we're making click-through rates of 0.8% work because the economics of everything else we're doing just makes sense. But I mean, we were talking about your click-through rates earlier, and like 2.5% is the average click-through rate because people are looking at this and going, wow, this is crazy. I want to find out more about it. I want to see how we can use this, because like AirRopes they're Adam, you've just done a fantastic job. They're absolutely incredible.
Man, I appreciate that so much. It means so much to me, John. Thank you. And I just want to say, I cannot tell you how that makes me feel, because this is my baby. I've obviously birthed this from my own mind, and to bring it to fruition. And the journey has not been a straight line. It hasn't been easy. There's so much more to it than we've had time to discuss today. It's been with a challenging journey, without a doubt, a fun journey, exciting journey. I've had 2 babies, moved house 3 times, been through a lockdown, had economic and financial challenges along the way, health scares, etc., which we won't go into today. But to know that these now are being shared with people like yourself that can see the benefit, value them, loving them, and give me that feedback means the world to me. And you said exactly right there what nearly everyone that I've got them in the hands of so far have said. I couldn't quite imagine what they'd be like or what they'd look like until I saw them. And then when I got them in my hands, they were even better than I expected. And when I used them, they were even better than I ever imagined, and more like battle ropes than I ever guessed they would be. So that's a common experience I'm getting back, which is obviously was my goal, and actually exceeds my expectations, because I know they're great, but obviously I'm a bit biased, having been the one made them. So it's so good to hear that feedback from people, and it just made my day. So thank you, man.
Yeah, well, I'm excited to help sharing them with the world and everything else that's going to be happening over the next weeks and months. I mean, I think it's like they belong in everybody's hand. Anybody does anything got to do with fitness needs a pair of AirRopes.
Yeah,
and they should probably be getting one for their friend as well. So if anybody is interested, they can go to it's AirRopes.com. And they can find out all about it. They'll see more demonstration videos if they want to see them. They'll be able to see, be able to pick whether they want blue or red and everything else. And I can't wait to see where this goes. I think it's they're going to explode, and I'm so excited to have you on, Adam. Thanks so much for coming on. And anything else you want to say finally before we finish up?
No, just I'd say to you, obviously, give them a go for yourselves first and foremost, and keep watching this space, because this is just the beginning. And in the years to come, we're going to get these in every athlete's hands, trainer's hands, Hollywood movie stars. So keep watching, because you'll remember that you saw the beginning of this journey. And if you get yours now, you'll be one of the first people in the world. And keep watching, because we're just getting warmed up.
Brilliant. Cool. Thanks, Adam.
Thank you, John. Appreciate it.